Welcome to the Warsquared Fantasy Football Podcast, a full-service year-round podcast with weekly episodes to provide fans with info on their teams and players. Whether you're a newbie or a longtime veteran of the fantasy wars, Warsquared is the podcast for you. And welcome into Week 14. We're going to do some Week 13 recaps real quick, but we'll start with some injuries. Lamar Jackson week to week with a knee injury after leaving in the first quarter. Uh-oh.
Ruh-roh Raggy. Tyler Huntley comes running out and saves the day.
He did save the day last week. Of course, they played the Broncos, so that's
not really a save. That's more of a hold.
The under cashed is all I know.
That's
all
all
I
you
cared about in that game.
Yep.
Well, that's what we, anytime you're playing the Broncos, bet the under because they ain't scoring jack.
Yeah, maybe not this week because I think the under is, I want to say it's
43.
43. Well, maybe bet the under.
And who are they playing?
The Chiefs.
Oh, definitely take the over. Well, maybe not. We'll have to talk about that one later.
Janine Garofalo out for the season with a broken foot.
He's not out for this season. He does not have a Linsick fracture. Therefore,
Liz Frank.
I'm sorry. The speculation currently is he will be available for Week 18 to tune up and then be eligible for the playoffs if they make it that far. Is what one of the articles that I read today, but there's multiple articles that say the exact opposite. 7
to 8 weeks is where they expect. They say he could come back, but then he's going to need a couple of weeks to get fired up. That means really, at best,
it's Brock Purdy time.
Championship game or Super Bowl would be his first game. So
it's Brock Purdy time.
It's Brock Purdy.
They're going to ride with Brock.
Can Christian McCaffrey play quarterback?
Probably.
If
he can't, Debo can.
Not being limited in practice, like both of them were today. Ken Walker has an ankle strain. According to Pete Carroll, he is week to week. This is more like a jammed ankle. According to Pete Carroll, it is not a high or low ankle sprain. It is not a side to side. It is almost like a compression, I guess.
Pete Carroll, MD.
Well, I adjust patients' ankles all the time for that exact thing from standing on hard concrete floors and stuff.
He did play in Los Angeles.
Yeah, but you don't call pass plays from the 1 yard line, so 100%. You're one up on Pete Carroll. Let's move.
100% accurate.
Hayden Hurst doubtful this week after getting hurt in the Chiefs game. Yeah, he probably won't play this week. Tua re-aggravated his ankle injury. He says he's okay, but they did sign former Chiefs first-round draft pick Eric Fisher to play tackle after Austin Jackson was moved to IR. Remember, against the 49ers, neither of their starting tackles played.
And it showed.
Definitely showed.
Man.
Baker Mayfield, he asked for and was granted his release on Monday, and the Rams were the only team to put in a claim for him.
A little surprised the Niners didn't go there.
Well,
although I think Christian might have left.
Well, Christian would have left, and the article the statement that came out from Shanahan was, I like Brock. Basically said we'll ride with Brock and see what happens because Brock's a better quarterback than what he is what basically he said. The statement says we'll investigate and look at it, but I don't see him in our future.
What I heard is they put in a claim, and after they got the news on Jimmy that he was not going to require surgery to fix his foot, they withdrew it. But Baker could play against the Raiders on Thursday night, as weird as this is.
Okay, wouldn't this just be Baker Mayfield's absolute perfect luck to end up in the Rams? Matt retires, which he's probably going to do, and he becomes a starting quarterback for the Rams in an offense dynamic that might be able to add some player makers and show what he might actually be able to do.
And then stranger things have happened, and I firmly believe that the reason the Rams did this, they play a single game Thursday night against the Raiders. Next week, it's Monday night at the Packers. And then Christmas Day, they are at home against the Broncos in another standalone.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody. You now have Russ Wilson and Baker Mayfield to unwrap on Christmas. You're welcome.
Thank God it's Christmas. We can do other things that day.
Too late to change to Jewish and have Hanukkah or
no, you can always convert whenever you want.
I might have to be hammered by the time that game starts.
Festivus is looking better and better, folks.
Have to be hammered, you'll be definitely hammered.
Right. Or a replay of Saturday night. John Robinson, Titans GM, fired Tuesday by the owner. He had 4 years left on his contract.
Who they gave an extension this past February.
Yep, but A.J. Brown just showed them up.
Lit him up like a match.
Their coach got drunk on the plane back from Green Bay.
Should have been suspended and or fired.
And got a DUI. And Fox showed Vrabel upset in the draft room about the A.J. Brown trade like 50 times on Sunday during the game.
Yep, not a good look for the franchise. I had breakfast on Tuesday morning with a fellow. He's in all the leagues that we're in, except for the BNI league together. Nick, and Nick asked me what I think about the Titans. I thought, well, John Robinson. I told him Tuesday morning John Robinson needs to be fired, and went through the reasons why, which I think we've covered on the show ad nauseum. And about an hour later, I got the thing popped up on my phone. The alert: John Robinson has been relieved of duties as the GM of the Titans. I'm going, he's a great GM. Don't let him pick your first round draft picks, Jack. Other than that, he's doing pretty good.
Yeah, and I think it's also kind of what you've said before. The free agent signings they're making are not impacting the team.
They don't make sense. Yeah. I mean, you look at the trades. Like, I look at trades and I go, your Chiefs got Kadarius Toney for basically nothing.
Yeah.
Tennessee needs a wide receiver. Toney's available. Make a phone call. We need interior defensive linemen. Sue's available. Make a phone call.
Linval Joseph.
Make a phone call. We got, you can always work the salary cap out to make it work and do that type of stuff for it. But, you look at it and you go, some of these trades that have been made for players that Tennessee has holes with, why weren't we involved in those conversations at some point in time? If we were, why hasn't it been put out there? We made this offer. That way we know that you're actually doing something.
Now, another one not on the list here that just brought up to me, Robert Quinn was put on IR by the Eagles. Remember, they traded for him from the Bears to add that other outside pass rusher. I don't think maybe he played 6 or 7 plays.
He might have played. He might have played a quarter.
Yeah, it was not a lot. And now he's out.
He'll be eligible to come back for the playoffs, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. And then the big news today, Von Miller underwent exploratory knee surgery yesterday, and they revealed a torn ACL. Now, he's out for the year. I mean, Chiefs fans, you should love this because...
Why, they're the number 2 seed.
For now. Now the guy who was brought in to get after Pat and to get after Joe Burrow, he gone.
Yep.
All right, we'll jump into recaps here. We'll go clear back to last Thursday night. Speaking of the Bills, 24-10 over the Pats. Josh Allen did just enough to get the win, 223-2, 20 on the ground. Threw him to Stephon Diggs, 7 for 92-1, and Gabe Davis, 2 for 15 for 1. Boy,
he's faded, hasn't he?
God,
not quite the stud you thought he was going to be, was he?
No, he is not. He is the...
Have you been right yet?
Yes. He is the...
When? Tommy's always wrong.
That's right. I don't know, maybe... Devontae Adams, Jalen Hurts.
No, those are things we both agreed on.
Okay.
I mean, have you picked a player for fantasy football this year?
Wrong. You have sat here and said Devontae Adams. He's not that great. He's not a number one like a Jamar Chase.
No, I missed 5
games.
I've said Adams is number 1. I said the problem with Jamar Adams with Adams is who's throwing the damn ball to him and where he's at. Adams is one of the top 5 wide receivers in the NFL. There's no doubt.
Well, he's currently the number 1 wide receiver in the NFL, by the way.
Yeah, but if you're building a franchise, would you take him first, Jefferson or Chase?
It's got to be Jefferson.
And who number 2?
Chase.
Okay, thank you.
Because Devontae has got 4-ish years left, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got. I mean, he's got 7 years on Chase and Jefferson. Age-wise.
Don't disagree.
So, yeah, you don't start building your franchise around.
Are you age discriminating over there, Tommy?
Absolutely, I am.
As a matter of fact.
James Cook, 64 rushing, 6 for 41. We were talking about this pre-show. James Cook has become a monster. If he plays like this, it is going to be amazing. Now, Devin Singletary got the rushing touchdown, 51 rushing yards and a touchdown. For the Pats side,
they looked great the first quarter.
Man.
The next 3, Mac Jones was upset on the sidelines because he says, why can't we be explosive. Why can't we throw the ball down the field? Why can't we? Why can't we? Why can't we?
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing about that is they showed up and played well in the first quarter, which they hadn't done all year.
Mm-hmm.
They hadn't had a good first quarter all year. So they put all the focus and energy, I think, on the weekend getting a fast start. And then they had nothing left.
Yep.
Well, then they didn't call anything different. They just stuck with the game plan and the short passing game. And
well, I think you've got Matt Patricia calling the plays. You've got a whole lot of defense in that building right now, and not a whole lot of offense as far as the Mines go.
Yeah, Mac Jones, 195 and 1. Ramondre, 54 rushing, 6 for 24. A huge disappointment, bailing out his fantasy owners just because he had 6 receptions, but 24 yards is a big disappointment receiving.
Huge.
The short, quick pass game was not working.
They don't have anybody to stretch the field. They don't. They have some weapons, but their weapons are not consistently
well. And
available.
if Mac Jones has to throw it in the tight windows, it's not happening. I mean, they were crowding the box, taking Ramondre away.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead, Mac, beat us.
He doesn't have any weapons.
Happening.
He doesn't have anybody he can make an explosive play for him on the outside at all.
Yeah.
Well, they have to call explosive plays. That's the problem, is that they're not even calling them.
Yeah.
They're not running deep routes. Devontae Parker's a deep route guy.
Yeah, he's a go up and get it in a dogfight. Throw it up and let him go get it.
That's why they got him.
Yep.
Was to get the deep balls, but it doesn't work if you don't throw them down there.
It doesn't work at all.
We go to Sunday night. Cowboys 54, Colts 19.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah!
I mean, holy crap. They laid it
points
on.
in the fourth quarter.
That was ridiculous.
21-19 after 3 quarters. The Colts missed the 2-pointer, and then the floodgates opened. Dallas scored 33 points in the fourth, most in a quarter that they have ever scored. That's another record this year for the Cowboys.
There are 8 teams in the NFL who haven't scored 33 points in a game.
This year, yeah. Cowboys D had 3 sacks, 3 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries,
and a partridge in a pear tree.
Absolutely.
And they were the second best fantasy defense this week.
Yep. JT, 82 yards rushing, 3 for 21. Alex Pierce had the big game, 4 for 86, and a great contested touchdown catch. But that's it for the Colts. Tony Pollard went off again, 91 rushing with 2 touchdowns, 2 for 15 receiving. CD's getting these in-around sweeps and getting 23 yards a game, and had 5 receptions for 71 and a TD after he rolled over a defender and then got up and scored. Gallup, 4 receptions, 23 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Zeke gets into it in the fourth quarter blowout, 77 and 1 and 2 for 15. This was a complete boat race.
Okay, which team looks worse in the NFL right now, the Colts or the Texans?
Saturday's team looked really bad on Sunday night, and he looked like he was about ready to cry the whole fourth quarter.
But the fourth quarter was one of those things where if it could go wrong, it did go wrong.
Usually twice.
Yeah, I mean that was not a good look for the NFL. The Colts Saturday. Anybody associated with the Colts?
I mean,
franchise.
we could have had Chiefs Bengals in prime time, and we got Cowboys Colts.
You couldn't get it because it's one of those things in this grand scheme of things. The afternoon networks get to protect a game each week.
And by the way,
yada.
That was a perfect placement for the Chiefs Bengals game because I loved the results.
Of course you did.
Yeah. No, I would have much rather seen Chiefs.
So would the rest of America. I mean, make that the national primetime game in your ratings.
Yeah, but you can't put the Chiefs there every week like you guys want to.
You can when they face the Bengals.
When there's a matchup, there's a reason they got flexed out of it next week. They should have flexed them into it last week.
Yeah. Monday night was Bucks 17, Saints 16 for 55 minutes. This was the Saints walk thanks to an early Taysom Hill TD, 21 passing yards, 10 rushing yards, 2 for 35 and 1 receiving. But Olave and Kamara weren't huge. And then move over, Rover. Let Tommy take over. Scoring first with 3 minutes to go, then again with 3 seconds to go. Ends with 281 and 2. Rashad White, 28 rushing, 6 for 41 and 1, taking over the Leonard Fournette role. And Cade Otton at 6 for 28 and 1. Godwin had the TD called back on the holding by Donovan Smith, but was 8 for 63.
Yeah, as soon as they went to punt the ball to the Bucks for that last trip down,
with about 4.5 minutes left,
the degenerate in the room, I won't mention any names for Tobin's sake, may or may not have had his app up and been looking at it. The money line was at plus 180 bucks on the money line.
So
jumped all over that. You're going to give me a minute 40, a minute 50 with Tom Brady to win it? Bang that thing hard. Yeah. Thank you, Tommy. 3 seconds to spare. I mean, I was a little nervous, but I mean, it's
this was an absolute ugly game until the fourth quarter. I'm going, wow, Tommy, you threw your life away to come back and play with this.
Well, I mean, for 3 quarters, the Bucs fans were just giving it to their own team.
Oh yeah, and they deserved every second of it. They were horrible, horrible.
So
aren't they horrible?
Were they horrible?
Yes, they were.
Dan,
back down here. Buddy.
Tom Brady tied Dan Marino for most Monday night wins at 20, and this go-ahead TD was not only the latest go-ahead TD of his long career, but also he passed Peyton Manning for 44 fourth quarter comebacks.
Yep. Now he has everything. Of course, when you play 28 years, that's what you should have, shouldn't you?
Right. Yes, Brock Purdy was 6 months old when Tom Brady was drafted.
I mean, think about this. Tom Brady has played in the NFL longer in his life than he hasn't. Let that sink in for a minute.
Yeah, at this point, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. His career's been amazing. His longevity and his ability to be healthy has been amazing. But got to take it. Father Time's looking like he's starting to take a toll on Tommy.
He's getting close.
Not like Matt Ryan, where Father Time just came up and whipped his ass.
You know, when Tom Brady comes back down and looks like his draft day photo or his combine photo, then talk to me. Until then, he's doing just fine.
He's never going to look like that again. There's been too much cosmetic surgery taking place there.
That's for sure.
But Father Time's come and thumped him a couple of times, but not thumped him enough to get him to stop yet.
We mentioned it earlier. Bengals 27, Chiefs 24.
How about those Bengals?
Pat was just okay, 223-1.
Kelsey was horrible.
And nine yards rushing with one touchdown.
That's the first time we don't say that in like the last 6 years.
Yep. Kelsey 4 for 56 with a key fumble. Now, 4 for 56. That's 9.6 PPR points. Most of your tight ends, you're like, hell yeah, I'll take that in
a heartbeat. Whereas Kelsey, you're going
pissed.
Yeah, Kelsey, you're going, what the hell?
Right.
Actually, he only got 7.6 -2 for the fumble.
Right.
That's still, if you have a normal tight end, you're going, yeah, he got above 5.
It's still a top 10 tight end in the league.
Exactly. That's why you're sitting there going, Kelsey, finally I can talk shit on Kelsey, and it still doesn't matter because he's still a top 5.
Enjoy it because it's over.
Right. Oh, I know it is. There's no doubt. The magical disappearing tight end is back.
Pacheco was 66-1 on the ground, 2 for 16 through the air. It wasn't enough. Joe Burrow, 286-2, 46 huge rush yards and a touchdown. He threw it to T. Higgins, 3 for 35-1, and to Chris Evans. Yes, that's right. Captain America came in and got the touchdown. Do you have his comic book? Do what?
Do you still have his comic book?
Chris Evans?
No, Captain America.
I have a lot of Captain America comic books. That's well, I guess not as much as I used to, but Jamar Chase 7 for 97 and Samaje Perine 106 and 6 for 49 through the air. And this is the end of Samaje Perine, people. Joe Mixon is back at practice today, full practice.
We'll see about that.
Mm-hmm.
Samaje Perine was the player of this game. He's the reason why the Bengals won this game.
I'd go ahead and say it's probably Joe Burrow before I'd say it was Samaje Perine.
Really? 106 yards on the ground, being able to hand the ball off and get first downs almost at will.
Yeah, against the Chiefs. Well, hell, Burrow had 46 yards.
Yeah.
Almost half of the yards that Perine had, Burrow had.
And now Joe Burrow is now 3-0.
Against the Chiefs.
Against the Chiefs in his lifetime.
And I believe he's 0-5 against the Browns, who they play this week.
And he is confirmed to be, at this point in time, Patrick Mahomes' daddy. Or was it, what's Patrick Mahomes' daughter's name? Her daddy? Remember the thing on Facebook that said had them all posing?
This might be a little bit far. I'll go ahead and say no. I'll still put my money on the Chiefs. This was literally another long missed field goal by Butkus away from being tied.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda. I don't get to talk shit in the Chiefs very often in Mina, so I'm gonna enjoy this one.
You know, I had no confidence, I think, or I really didn't trust that we were going to run the table all the way out and then win the whole damn thing. No. So I'd rather have this one now in early December. I mean, it's Pat's first loss in like 26 games in November and December. Mm-hmm. We'll take it.
Now, next week, the Chiefs are going to win. We got that. The Chiefs are probably going to win.
Their schedule the rest of the way is not that bad.
They're probably going to win out and get the number 1 seed.
You've got to think Buffalo, especially with no Von Miller, that hurts.
They'll slip at least one time.
I think their schedule's a little their schedule's not too tough either, but
the toughest schedule left is the Bengals.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting.
In the other non-national game of the week, but huge game, 49ers 33, Dolphins 17. We already talked about Jimmy. He was injured early, out for the season. Enter Brock Purdy. And when CMC goes for 66 rushing and 8 for 80 and a touchdown, and you sack and intercept Tua 3 times each, and you return a fumble he had for a touchdown, who cares?
It's just like a Tuesday for CMC there. That's not that impressive.
No, he rolled out of bed and get that, doesn't he?
Pretty much.
Well, he used to.
It's like Tony Gwynn hitting. He can roll out of bed and get a single.
Pretty much.
Tua 295 and 2 to Tyreek 9 for 146 and 1, and a game-opening 75-yard strike to Trent Sherfield. But like we said earlier, he did aggravate his ankle injury, but currently is the number 1 Pro Bowl vote getter.
Yeah, Tua's had a hell of a season. But the warts are starting to show on the Dolphins' face at this point in time.
I agree with that.
And the 49ers are just getting healthier and getting better. Believe it or not, that defense is going to continue to get healthy and continue to dominate. They haven't given up any points in the second half in the last 3 games.
Something like
that. And, man, they look... We said before the season the 49ers were the most talented team in the NFC. There's no reason for them not to still be considered the most talented team in the NFC at this point in time.
Definitely no resistance in their own division. We'll just say that.
Their division's rolled over and given it to them. Yeah. Although the Seahawks still...
Seahawks can give them a game.
But not much.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see. And one near and dear to Doc's heart, Eagles 35, Titans 10. What'd I say? Jalen Hurts, 380 and 3, 12 and 1 on the ground. Threw it to A.J. Brown, 8 for 119 and 2, and Devonta Smith, 5 for 102 and 1. Miles Sanders, a boring 24 and 1 on the ground, 2 for 14 to get at least something. But the Philly D had 6 sacks.
Well, it's hard to sack somebody when you're starting 4 people who weren't in the starting lineup before the season started. 80% of our offensive line is not... Yep. Not whining, stating a fact. Tennessee deserves to be where they're at right now.
I'm just wondering if John Robinson got fired because he failed to tell his team they had a game this week.
I
mean, crap.
Well, I mean,
E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles.
As a Titans fan, I changed channels.
I was going to say, did you
make
it to halftime?
No, about halfway through the second quarter, I went, this thing's over with. Let's go see what else is going on. I ended up watching the Lions game.
Now, Gardner Minshew played the fourth quarter, or Jalen Hurts would have had 500 yards.
Yeah. Yeah, our team showed absolutely no resistance to what the Borg's resistance is futile. 100% accurate in this game for the Titans.
Well, their whole game almost looked like the Colts in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Well, the big changing point in this game was when Treylon Burks took the helmet to the face.
Yeah, I mean,
at that point in time, that
awesome catch.
That completely changed.
25 yards and a TD, but he got knocked.
That completely changed the complexion of the whole entire game at that point in time. And Tennessee just never recovered. We don't have the depth to recover from an injury like that.
Well, once he's gone, all they've got to focus on is King Henry because there's no other threats on that offense.
You put 9 people in the box and you go man to man everywhere else.
I mean, 11. Hell, I'm not even sure they can catch it against air.
Well, I'm sure one of them can. Bob Trees can.
Maybe.
Yeah,
but it was
maybe 1 out of 5.
If this was not a reason to fire your GM by looking at the talent they put on the field at that point in time, there never will be one.
Commanders 20, Giants 20 in overtime.
How'd that feel, Tom? You should have lost this game twice.
I gotta tell you, it felt better than a loss.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're pretty happy with the tie at this point in time, aren't you?
I would have been pissed if we would have lost to the Giants.
I was so hoping the Giants would win. As you and I both predicted, and we got screwed on that one, didn't we?
Everybody did. Heineke brought us back to tie the game at the end of regulation. He was 275 and 2. Terry McLaurin's the one who went off, 8 for 105 and 1, but Jahan Dotson caught the other one, 5 for 54 and 1. Brian Robinson, 96 yards on the ground, 2 for 15. Gibson was ill late in the week, didn't look explosive, so that really, I think, hampered us when Robinson wasn't in the game. Danny Nichols, again, 201. 200 yards and 1 touchdown.
He didn't look that bad.
71 rush yards.
If he had any weapons around him, he actually would be fairly serviceable.
If he had any wide, they're going to extend him. They're going to give him a 2 or 3 year contract at about $30 million a year.
Oh, thank God! I hope so.
And if they put wide receivers around him, he might actually be the 3rd best quarterback in that division. Because Heineke ain't one of them.
Like he's just as good as Danny Dimes. I'm telling you that right now.
You can see, hell, they tied 2020.
That's
exactly.
right.
They're the exact same player.
They both suck.
Yeah, exactly.
Saquon 63-1, 5 for 18. The 5 receptions is nice for Saquon owners. Slayton's still the only semi-reliable wide receiver. He was 6 for 90.
Just because there's nobody else to throw the damn ball to.
They're all brutal. They're all street free agents.
They are. The Giants on the outside with skill players, they've got one skill player, that's Saquon, and that's it. Everybody else is at best a D- player.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd quite put Slayton down there. I mean,
Slayton starts for any other team.
He's a no.
Okay, thank you.
But he's not a D-.
He won't start. He's not one of the top 64 wide receivers in the NFL.
He would start for the Titans. He's better than Bob Trees.
He'd be wide receiver 2 in Tennessee.
He might be better than Westbrook-Ikhine. I can't go. I can't.
Oh yeah,
disagree.
he's definitely better.
So he's the 62nd or 63rd best wide receiver in the NFL.
He's getting paid though.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, he's getting paid. You're right. Would you have him on your fantasy team?
In a deep league, yes.
How about first day of the draft? Would you draft him? Draft day, is he on your list?
No.
Then he's a D-. Move on.
Vikings 27, Jets 22. The Jets moved up and down the field at will, putting up nearly 500 yards behind Mike White's 369 and 3 rushes for 7 yards and a touchdown. All of his yards mainly went to Garrett Wilson, 8 for 162. Donovan Bam Knight came in and ran the ball, 90 rushing yards, 5 for 28. Captain Kirk was awful as usual, 173-1, but got staked to a lead by Dalvin Cook's 86 rushing yards and a touchdown. And Alexander Madison's early TD. I think Madison had like 16 yards and a TD, something like that.
Yeah, but can we talk about his touchdown celebration? Did you guys see that?
Didn't see that.
Oh my God, I felt dirty after I saw his touchdown celebration.
You needed a shower, did you?
You need to go look this up after the show.
It's
I have to look
funny.
it up.
It starts out like he pulled a muscle, pulled a hammy, and then he goes down.
Did he lay down his back and rubbed his?
No, he went down to all fours and proceeded to do unspeakable things.
Yeah,
to the air.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
Justin Jefferson finally broke through late with a TD, 7 for 45-1. But
they won. They're 10-2.
Man, and we'll talk about it when they play this week. But they are not favored to win this week. Against the very next team that did win, Lions 40, Jags 14.
Man, that offense for the Lions was fun to watch.
Yeah, we were right on the Lions side. Jeff Goff 340-2. Both Amon-Ra, the Sun God, 11 for 114-2. Jamal Williams got his goal line TD, but welcome back DeAndre Swift, 62 rush yards with a TD, 4 for 49, and there was no answer for him from the Jags.
None.
Jags don't have the linebackers to match up with him.
No, this was the Lions offense looked absolutely explosive and unstoppable in this game. They went up and down the field at will.
They scored on their first 8 possessions.
Mm-hmm. And Jameson Williams was back. Williams was in the game.
He
targeted one time, 8 snaps. That offense is going to do nothing but get better, folks.
Yeah.
And I do believe that they're all signed for next year, other than the quarterback.
Well, Goff signed.
Yeah,
but he won't collect on his current contract.
No, there's no way they're going to take that cap hit.
Correct. But everybody else, I believe the offensive line's completely signed. I think everybody is signed there for next year. It's just a matter of who's going to be pulling the trigger at quarterback.
We'll have to check on Jamal Williams. I'm not sure that he is signed.
I think that
they
he
re-signed him.
I think he signed I think he's got one more year left on his contract.
Okay. Spicoli just okay, 179-1, 4 for 32 rushing. With Kirk getting 6 for 104 and Ingram got the TD. But at the end of the first half, Lawrence was kind of taken down and he missed practice today as we record this on a Wednesday with a foot injury. And Doug Peterson said there's some concern he may not play this week.
Correct. Against the Titans.
Yeah, he got rolled up on pretty good.
Yeah, he did get.
So if there's a question, they'll protect him versus trying to get him into a game where he'll probably be sacked a couple of times by the Titans D.
He'll be sacked more than a couple of times probably.
In the return game, Browns 27, Texans 14. Deshaun looked like a guy that hadn't played in 23 months or 700 days.
Everything was 5 to 7 yards short, bouncing off the turf, literally 5 to 7 yards from the receivers.
Yeah. The Browns D, though, was the number one scoring D.
30 points.
Yeah, their special teams started it off returning a punt for a touchdown by Donovan Peoples-Jones, and then had 2 interceptions returned for touchdowns.
Or they lose.
Yeah,
or they lose.
Yeah. Oh, there's no doubt they lose if they don't do that.
Well, but if they get the ball back somewhere there, Nick Chubb gets more than 17 rushes for 80 yards.
Maybe. You didn't have to defend the pass in this game.
No, you could literally leave the guy running out there wide open, and he looked like a shortstop, one hopping it off the turf.
Oh yeah, Chuck
to the
Knobloch.
first baseman. Yeah.
Yeah.
That will be corrected over the next week, I do believe.
Oh yeah.
He must have played a lot of basketball during his hiatus because he was throwing some great bounce passes.
Yeah, he was.
Now, Chubb was out fantasied by Dameon Pierce, who finally got back into it. He had 73 rush yards, 3 for 22, and Kareem Hunt, who had 56 rush yards and was 2 for 18 through the air. Like we said, if there hadn't been all these D scores, the Browns would have been in trouble. But you also have to factor in that they would have gotten more rushing attempts for Chubb.
And it would have been a different game if they wouldn't have scored. The offense would have been scored, plays would have been called differently, that type of stuff. But the Browns defense won the game for them. Watson's back. I started him in 2 leagues and got 2.85 points in one league and 1.62 in another, or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
And I won one of those games.
So he outscored Lamar, but that's it.
That's it.
This was Kyle Allen's last game. They've already said they're going back to Davis Mills.
Duh.
Raiders 27, Chargers 20. Who's the best receiver in football? It's Devontae Adams.
No, Justin Jefferson.
Fantasy wise, it's Devontae Adams, 8 for 177 and 2. He is 18 for 318 and 4 against the Chargers this season. Josh Jacobs didn't practice all week. That's okay. He just keeps getting it done. 144 and 1, 2 for 6 through the air. Carr was 250 and 2. So what is that? 60% of his yards went to Devontae.
At least.
Eckler held in check, 35 rush yards, 5 for 67. But Keenan Allen got loose for a late TD, 6 for 88 and 1. Herbert, 335 through the air, but only the 1 touchdown.
On that incredible throw with 4th and 12.
They're a coach and a healthy team away from competing.
They've been a coach and a healthy team away from competing for years. And I don't think Staley's that bad of a coach. Staley just doesn't seem to follow common sense with the NFL. It's 4th and 1 at my own 37. I'll go for it.
Right. Yeah, he's like Bill Belichick in that game in Indianapolis where he was like 4th and 7 from their own 29, but they needed a touchdown, so he goes for it. It's like, what are you doing? And that's what Staley does all the time.
I've got 2 words for you on Staley. Sean Payton.
Yes, I couldn't agree more.
Sean Payton said today that he will probably be employed in the NFL sooner rather than later.
Jumping on the next game, Steelers 19, Falcons 16. Well, this is a snoozer.
This was ugly.
The kickers were the high scorers, along with Drake London, who was 6 for 95. I really expected Pickens to go off, and he did not. He only had 1 reception, I think, for 14 yards. The Falcons had a late TD called back, and that ended up costing them the game.
Mm-hmm. This was one of those games that only your fans watched.
Absolutely,
there was no national audience watching this one whatsoever, and I'm pretty sure that on DirecTV, this was one of the lowest watched games in history.
I hope they gave their fans some Novocaine or something.
Oh,
damn!
How about some snooze alert, something like that? I mean, it was ugly. But one of the things that I've seen happen throughout this year, the Steelers are actually putting together a pretty good team for next year.
Oh, yeah.
If they can fix their offensive line problem, they're going to be back in contention in the AFC North.
I asked our resident Steelers fan, Zane, this today. I said, if the Rams come to you and say you can have Aaron Donald for your first rounder, what do you say? He says no. I couldn't say yes fast enough.
No thanks. I think if I'm giving up that first pick, it's going to be for no linemen. The only thing I'm giving away if I'm Pittsburgh.
We know the Rams don't have any of those.
Their defensive front is already top 10 and getting better once TJ's healthy.
Aaron frickin' Donald.
It doesn't matter. He's not. He can't block. He can't give Kenny Pickett time. And if you're going to take a $30 million cap hit, you can't go out and sign those 2 free agents on the O-line that you need to rebuild. So their money's better spent on the O-line right now than the defense.
Other than the fact that, the cap's going to increase another, whatever it is.
Everything's relative, though. All those demands are going to go up from all these O-line. And what's the highest paid positions in football typically?
Left tackle.
Yeah, tackles. Seahawks 27, Rams 23. Geno Smith brought the Hawks back after the ghost of Cam Akers scored his second TD, 60 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns for Cam Akers to take the lead with 3 minutes to go. Geno was 367-3, mostly because Ken Walker left early due to the ankle injury we talked about. Tyler Lockett 9 for 128-1, and DK got the winning score to go 8 for 127-1 on 8 targets. Noah Fant got the other TD,
and those wide receivers are putting up some incredibly good numbers.
8 for 127 on 8 targets. That's efficiency, folks.
Yeah, that is. You look at if we go back 4 months ago this time, we're talking about the Seahawks being legitimately one of the worst teams in the NFL.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they were going to be lucky to get 4, maybe 5 wins.
I had them, I think, at 3 wins for the year, maybe 4 tops.
Geno's completion percentage right now is 72.7%.
Yeah, Geno is.
I think he's comeback player of the year.
100%.
I mean, yes, he's coming back from the bench.
Yeah, the only reason why he wouldn't be
a guy that wasn't there last year, and now all of a sudden, look at what he's done.
The only reason why I wouldn't agree with that was because comeback player usually comes somebody who missed the last season or a major part of last season due to injury or illness, that type of stuff.
Well, he missed it because his quarterback room was brain damaged with Russ. I mean, that's why that was the injury.
I'm telling you right now, Denver's looking back at that going, oh my God, we could have got him for a 6th. Are we stupid or what?
Could have got him for a Big Mac and a bus ticket, comparatively.
I could have got him for Noah Fant. Holy crap, I'm stupid.
And probably got a pick back.
You more than likely. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The way it reads is that Seattle was ready to go to Geno.
Yeah,
they'd seen enough. They'd seen enough in practice.
They were right.
Yeah, they were absolutely right.
They absolutely raped, looted, and stole from the Broncos.
They did.
And it continues to get better for them every time the Broncos lose.
I was going to say, and this week their draft pick's just going to get better.
Number 4, I think. 3?
3. Right now they're 3.
Yeah, I mean, holy mackerel.
Yep. Packers 28, Bears 19. Ugly early for the Packers with Justin Fields busting a long run to take the lead. He finished 254 pass yards, 71 for 1 yards rushing in a nice game for him fantasy-wise. He's also the first quarterback ever to have 3 touchdowns over 60 yards in one season.
Rushing.
David Montgomery was 61 for 1 on the ground, 4 for 6 through the air. Cole Kmet reappeared with a monster 6 for 72. Again, we're talking about that being a monster for a tight end. That's not even an average week for Kelsey.
If that's Kelsey, you go, man, he didn't get 20.
Right. He didn't get a touchdown. How is that possible? The Raj was just 182-1 with a 2-point pass. A.J. Dillon led the running back attack, 93-1 on the ground, 3 for 26, with Aaron Jones missing a lot of time in the middle of the game. But Christian Watson stayed red hot, 46-1 rushing, 3 for 48-1 receiving. He has moved into must-start territory. Now, you can't start him this week because they're off, but
except
for Ross, he might if you had him.
Oh, for sure. He just put him in and leave him in. Forget about it.
Watson has become a number 1 wide receiver, and you look at that and you go, what would have happened to the Packers if he would have made that catch the first drop of the season?
Yeah, if he wouldn't have dropped that.
What would their season be like at this point in time? Because but Roger would have had a little bit more
confidence in him. Faith. Yeah.
Yeah, but part of that's on Raj too. Sometimes you got to trust that kid and keep going back. After he drops one, you can't just go away. I mean, that's 8 touchdowns in 4 weeks now.
You got to ride that horse and keep throwing him the damn ball.
Say it again. 8 touchdowns in 4 weeks in the NFL.
That's amazing.
And it's gonna be an interesting offseason in Green Bay.
Yes.
Yes, it will. Now, the other key stat from this is the Packers have now overtaken for the most wins in the history of the NFL with 787, passing Chicago, who has now 786.
That's because who's the last 2 Green Bay quarterbacks?
Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers.
For 32 years?
Yeah, since 94.
So 30,
92?
90, that's 30 years.
94.
We'll go with 29 years.
All I know,
10 wins a year.
all I know is that pendulum may be swinging unless Green Bay makes a move.
Yep.
Yeah, and now who all the Bears started in the last 29 years?
I can't even.
They probably
begin.
started 29 different quarterbacks in that 29 years. That's why they caught him.
Yeah.
Because they went back-to-back Hall of Fame quarterbacks in Green Bay, which is just unheard of.
For sure. And the last and arguably worst game of the day, Ravens 10, Broncos 9. Lamar out in the first quarter with 20 combined yards.
Tobin got paid. That's all he cares about.
Tyler Huntley comes in and rushed for a TD late to bring the Ravens back and get the win. Greg Dulcich, 6 for 85 to be the highest scoring player other than Tyler Huntley in the game.
And a kicker.
And Brandon McManus. A real snooze fest that, of course, the Broncos lost. Now, the other big news out of this, Cortland Sutton is probably not going to play this week, and they've already come out and said Greg Dulcich is being used like a wide receiver, like another tight end in this game, Travis Kelce.
Mm-hmm. Dulcich looks great. He looks like if of all the rookie tight ends, he looks like the one that you want to have in a dynasty league going forward for fantasy football.
You just really wish he was like on the Bengals or something like
Place
that.
where they actually had a QB that could throw the ball.
Exactly.
On our weekly picks, everybody was 12-3. So
Oprah Winfrey week. You get a 12-3. You get a 12-3. Everybody gets a 12-3.
We all took different ways to get there.
That is true.
Which is interesting. I lost the Bills, the Giants, and the Packers. The Patriots, the Giants, and the Titans were my 3 losses. Yours was the Bengals, the Giants, and
I don't remember. All I know is,
if I remember correctly,
we all feel good that we were 12-3, but as Tommy and I were talking earlier today, the favorites went 13-1-1 this week. So it's not like we did anything, like
revolutionary.
Yeah.
But if you look at your season record, you are 121-58.
That's just short of 68%.
That's a hell of a winning percentage.
Anybody wants to go to Vegas? I mean, you only got to foot my flight.
I'm 113-65, which beats most of the odds makers out there.
Yeah,
and I'm getting my ass kicked.
Yeah, happens, man.
Yep.
Speaking of getting your ass kicked, Tom, how's the last place?
Hey, it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
This week there's going to be a lot of picks that will separate us from the pack again and see what happens.
Oh yeah, definitely. All right, we're going to jump out here for a couple words from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Indian Media Productions is your one-stop shop for all of your media creation needs. Whether it's producing a podcast like the one you're listening to, or maybe you just need some video for your social media and websites, sales and promotional videos, or even TV commercials, we've got you covered. Check us out at IndianMediaPro.com. After you've listened to Warsquared and have your lineups locked in for the week, we invite you to go over and check out 3 Dogs and a Dude. It's a podcast inspired by 3 crazy rescue dogs and their dude who like having conversations with interesting people. You never know who might pop into the studio as a guest, and we guarantee some laughs. Check out 3 Dogs and a Dude wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, we'll jump back in here with waivers and top 5s. On waivers, my number 1 guy is Tyler Huntley. He's going to start until Lamar's back, and he's basically Lamar Jr. My number 2 guy is Brock Purdy. He came right in, did just as good as Jimmy can do.
He's Purdy.
Yep, we'll see where he's at in a couple weeks when we get
Iowa
film
State.
on him.
He birdie.
And he was a top 5 recruit coming out of high school at Iowa State. Started all 4 years, took every snap for basically 4 years. So he has a lot of experience understanding, a lot of poise, and a lot of intelligence is what.
He's got experience working with good running backs, too.
Yeah,
he was
solid.
Brees's quarterback for.
Yep.
My number 3 is Zonovan Bam Knight for the Jets. He took over for Carter, and with James Robinson basically forgotten, I'd say ride him. James Cook is my number 4. He looks far more explosive than Singletary does, and his touches should only increase going forward. And then my number 5 right now, with the uncertainty about Ken Walker, it's probably Travis Homer first, maybe DJ
Homer.
Whoever's the starting running back for the Hawks while Walker's out is ownable, possibly even playable.
I've got Jordan Mason.
We had him last week.
Yep. Jameson Williams, owned in 37% of the leagues, and I think he's going to get more targets as the weeks go on. If you go in the playoffs, this is somebody you want to pick up as a possible replacement for injury and that type of stuff.
Yeah, I don't think there's a league I'm in that he's available in.
I know there's not in my league, because there was. I've got him in all of them. Corey Davis is available in 88% of the leagues that are out there right now.
I can't rely on that dude.
Well, if you need somebody to pick up for injury, that type of stuff, he's available. He's a number 1, 1B, depending upon how Garrett Wilson's doing. Greg Dulcich and Isaiah McKenzie.
Yeah, I don't know. I can co-sign on McKenzie. I mean, I love Dulcich. We've talked about him for weeks.
You don't have to co-sign.
I don't know that I'd pick up that guy.
If you need one, he's there.
Yeah, boy, that is some desperate moves there. We'll move on to top 5s. I'll go with Pat at number 1, Jalen Hurts at 2, Josh Allen 3, Joe Burrow 4. I'm going to put Jeff Goff at 5. I think he's going to light up the Vikings.
I think he's going to have a very good day against a very weak secondary. With the talent they have at wide receiver, I think it's going to be very interesting to watch.
They are giving, since over the past 7 weeks, they give up the most points to wide receivers in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. Mine is Mahomes, Hurts, Allen, Burrow, Goff, and believe it or not, Justin Fields.
You say golf?
I said Goff.
He said golf.
I said Goff.
That's actually 6, so congratulations.
6,
your math is terrible
sometimes
as usual.
You put 6 out there too, so I put 1 out there thinking that Fields and Golf are
okay,
pretty much comparable to each other.
Yeah, math is hard.
It is. It really is.
You haven't tied.
At running back, I'll go Nick Chubb, Tony Pollard, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs until further notice, and Dalvin Cook.
Now, I got Barkley 1, Eckler 2, Jacobs 3, CMC 3, CMC 4, and Travis Henry and Nick Chubb tied at number 5.
Travis Henry?
No, Derrick Henry.
Travis Henry, former Tennessee
Titan and father of how many kids? 17, 18 by now?
At least 8.
Him and Nick Cannon are having a contest.
And Josh Jacobs.
And Sean Kipp.
At wide receiver, I'm going to start off with the Sun God, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm going to put Devontae on here, especially if Jacobs isn't at full speed.
This is my shocked face.
Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, and DeAndre Hopkins.
Mine is Adams number 1, Hill number 2, Jefferson 3, St. Brown 4, A.J. Brown and Jamar Chase tied for 5.
He likes sliding 6 in there now, huh?
He does.
At this point in time, you know,
you're just hedging all your bets? Is that how you're going for it?
You look at it and you go, who do you want? I'm going both.
Pretty soon he's going to have like a top 4 plus 35 guys tied for number 5.
Sure. That's exactly how we'll do it.
See where this is going.
Because then he'll finally get something right.
I've got a lot of stuff right this year.
Okay. Tight end, Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews at the top. Got to go Hawkinson at 3, Dalton Schultz, and Greg Dulcich.
Mm-hmm. I've got Freiermuth number 4 and Schultz number 5. Top 3 are the same.
I
Doesn't
thought
matter
about
who they are.
Freiermuth, but they play the Ravens this week. With their linebackers, I don't like Freiermuth in this one.
I don't like very many of the Steelers players. The only one that I think that I would actually be starting this week is Freiermuth.
Yeah, that's probably.
He gets you 8 points at tight end. You're happy as a pig and poo.
Usually, yes. For sleepers, I've got Geno Smith, Christian Kirk, DeAndre Swift, Cam Akers, and Scottsdale Brown.
Yep, I've got Kirk Cousins because the Lions' defensive secondary ain't exactly good either. Cole Kmet, Najee Harris as a possible sleeper based upon need that you have there.
Didn't practice today.
Yep, DJ Moore and Donovan Peoples-Jones.
You got Geno Smith as a sleeper. Season to date, 7th ranked fantasy QB.
How can he be a sleeper?
Yeah, but people aren't starting him. I mean, you're not thinking of Geno Smith as being a top 10 QB, or in this case, a top 7 QB.
18.8 points per game average.
And the reason why
22.98, number 7 overall.
And the reason why he's probably not being started is because people drafted one of our top 5 that we listed there off to be the starting quarterback. They picked him up in like the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th round to be that 1 week fill in. Who are you going to start? Geno Smith or Pat Mahomes?
I get it.
You know,
number 7 sleeper.
See, I might consider starting Geno over Pat this week.
Depending upon the matchup, yeah. But
just because it could be a boat race and a shutdown early for the Chiefs.
Could be.
Or as we talked about, really low scoring.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll jump over to league recaps here. We haven't really talked a bunch about all of the trades that have been going on. Doc really started it 2 weeks ago.
What did I do?
With his trade where you acquired Christian Kirk and a couple of low draft picks for Rashad Bateman and a couple of higher draft picks. Now, I loved this trade for both sides because Doc, I think, got the superior player, but Nick got an okay player with higher draft picks.
Yeah, this is one of those trades that helps both teams. Helps mine this year, helps his starting next year.
Yep.
Which is what you do when you're making a push for the playoffs.
Yep. And then also last week, Tobin made a trade with Nick. He acquired TJ Hawkinson for Brandon Ayuk and a couple of picks. So again, Tobin gets a upgrade at tight end, which he needed.
Well, when Ertz went down for the season, I had to make some move.
Yeah, you were hurting. And you'd been hurting there ever since. Jawan Johnson, I think you had picked him up and rode him as long as you could.
I had Johnson and Tanyan. I mean, and they're both, again, like we talked earlier, 8 points, you're happy.
Right. Now, you gave up Ayuk, who is a player that I love, but he is not a game breaker.
Ayuk is a player that you start if you have to, but you don't start because you want to.
Ayuk's good for 10 to 13 points a week. It feels like with the pop-up occasionally 2-3 times a year, he'll hit 20, 22.
But he has 4 or 5 times a year. He has
5. Yeah.
He's a great bye week receiver.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy that you feel great putting in when
you don't want to start him, but you're willing to start him if you
Jefferson or Devontae Adams is out, and you're like, man, I'm going to really be hurting at wide receiver this week. Oh, no, wait, I got Brandon Ayuk.
Right. And that was wide receiver was a big position of strength for me.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it was a no-brainer. Big upgrade for me at tight end.
And you gave up 2 meaningless draft picks. What I mean by meaningless, they're going to be people you tell. I think he might eventually be something, so you're going to pull him out of the air and put him on your lineup in your team.
Yeah.
And you're going to wait a year or 2 to see what happens.
And I had 6 picks already, so I'm
back down to 5.
Down to 4 now. We're fine.
Yeah.
Nick and I then made a trade. Nick wanted Hayden Hurst, and he offered me Quez Watkins. Hurst is a little bit more valuable than Quez Watkins was. So I turned a 4th rounder into a 3rd rounder. Then that was enough for me to value that trade to say, I moved up a round.
Actually, you gave up the 3rd.
No, I got the 3rd.
No, you got Quez.
You got Quez in the 3rd for Hurst in the 4th. Yeah.
And so that to me was a win there. Plus, I already have Jalen Hurts. I have a surplus at tight end. I wasn't going to play Hurst over Dalton Schultz. There's just no way I can do that right now.
Correct.
I mean, Watkins is basically a number 3 option in Philly, or if Devontae or AJ gets hurt.
That's exactly. That's the only reason I got him.
Yeah.
Because if either of them get hurt, he becomes
the number 2.
Right. Yeah. And so there's no risk.
And then Nick made a trade today with Billy, the trader.
Then today, I picked up Huntley. Billy has Lamar. I picked up Huntley, and I tried to work out a trade with Billy. Billy was just not willing to pull the trigger
because he was smart.
Did
I say Billy was smart?
Yeah, you said that. It's really because I didn't just take his offer of a 2nd and Van Jefferson for Huntley.
You're stupid. You should have taken that one just to get the second for Huntley. Cash shouldn't have been good.
Well, I think I could. We have some other trade parameter things that we're working on too, but
Trader Billy, huh?
Oh, Billy.
If Billy's the trader, what's Tommy?
He's the assistant,
the instigator, I guess. I don't know.
What I want to know is, I remember at a point, it was several weeks ago, when Billy had made a deal and said, "I'm done.
Right.
I don't need no more trades for me for the season. I'm
now
good."
he's made 5 trades.
And what was the over under? I think we put it at 5 that he would have after the fact, and I think we just checked that box.
Yeah. So earlier this season, Billy had traded Kirk Cousins to Nick with some other pieces for Keenan Allen. And now Billy has reacquired Kirk Cousins because Lamar's injured and gave Keenan Allen back to Nick with 2 draft picks to go with it.
A second and a third to go with it.
I mean, there's a cost if you have a position of need and you got the leverage.
Yeah, but would you really trade for Kirk Cousins as a position of need?
Well, how desperate is he right now?
Very.
Yeah, right now I damn sure would, especially when I already own Justin Jefferson.
And you go in the waiver wire. There ain't no quarterbacks on the waiver wire in this league.
There's nobody that you.
When you have 25 roster spots, they're all gone, Jack.
I'm just saying, Jared Goff's available for the right price.
The other thing that I really love about what Nick is doing is he knows he needs to rebuild this team, and over the next 2 years, he has a monster load of draft picks.
Yeah. Well, having breakfast with Nick, he is in pancake eating zone at this point in time.
He is.
His magic number is 1 to be safe. He needs either a loss from Zane or a win from him in the last 2 games to miss having pancakes. Right now,
he might have just put himself in jeopardy.
It might be even money at this point in time.
Now the wild card is you've still got Shookie in there as well.
Right.
I think Shookie's safe, but I'm not 100% sure.
No, he and Nick have the same record.
Okay.
So in a recap of what happened this week in the Dynasty League, I killed Seth. Just reversed what he did to me earlier in the season. Seth is in trouble right now with...
He's got some injury issues.
With Danny Dimes as his starter. He's finally going to get Joe Mixon back. Cooper Kupp has been out. Deebo Samuel hasn't been performing. So I think he's in trouble.
There's chinks in the armor.
Doc got past the Trogs. Tobin snuck past Nick. Billy barely held off the projector and wouldn't have held him off if the projector actually ever looked at this league and adjusted his lineup. We talked about it. Zane beat Shook.
And keep himself alive.
He beat himself handily.
To keep himself alive for not being a double pancake eater. And we've had Shook come to us and tell a couple of us that he might be interested in selling his team. I've got a guy who might be interested in buying it.
Selling his team?
Yep.
These things are worth money?
Well, allegedly.
Let me look at his roster. Maybe I'll pick up a second franchise.
Now,
no trades among franchises.
I mentioned this earlier too. My magic number and I think Doc's magic number are both 1. So any combination of wins or losses by the guys right around us, and we're pretty much locked in.
Yeah, there's 4 playoff spots. There's 4 of us. Billy.
There's 3 playoff spots.
Yeah.
Seth's already got 1 locked up.
There's 4 playoff spots. Seth's got 1 locked up. There's 3 left. For 4 of us fighting for it. Tobin, Tommy, myself, and Billy.
Yeah, and I'm coming up the outside strong. Yeah. So if either one of you guys has a blip.
Billy, Tommy, and I's magic number is 1 if I've got it figured out correctly.
Yeah, that's a lot of thinking and prognosticating. I've seen you do math, so I'm going to go with nah.
And Tobin and I play the last week of the season, so if I'm safe, we can talk.
We can talk.
Now we go.
Everything's negotiable.
That's right.
There is an ability to play for a tie if necessary in order to be able to get something later in the draft.
Gracious. We move over to the BNI League where Zane 100% is the pancake
he's a
person
pancake
here. He lost again. This time in this one he lost to Shookie. But Megan dropped the hammer on Tobin.
Again, I score second highest in the league and get throttled.
Right.
That's the story of my season in both leagues. Yeah, exactly.
I haven't got the sounder, but I need to do something.
I crushed Matt, And Doc was done in by the projector because he played Deshaun instead of Dak Prescott.
Come on, man.
Well, Dak has done absolutely nothing for me all year.
They played Colts.
Well, and the Colts' defense looks a hell of a lot better than the Texans' defense.
Yeah, I'd say that's 6 to 1, half dozen the other.
Dak played last week versus Deshaun, who played last in 2020.
Over 700 days.
Yep. I started him and took the L.
Math is hard, and apparently logic deciphering math is hard.
Right.
No, it's just I looked at the two options and went,
Doc doesn't make mistakes and
I
is
do
right all the time.
I do make mistakes, and starting Deshaun was a mistake.
Are you high? Exactly. I've had Deshaun. I took Deshaun in the 9th round of our Dynasty League 2 years ago.
I can win this battle with one thing. I didn't draft Waller in the Fishbowl League, did I?
That's not a win.
Oh, no, it's the point that I was right and you were wrong.
Well, yeah, but he was also the best tight end available at that point.
Any other tight end was the best available tight end.
There's been a lot of people that have gotten bit by Waller this year. Let's be honest.
Not me, because I told everybody to avoid him and run away, didn't I?
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So he holds on to one piece of something.
I was right about
he's got.
Russ.
Yes. Thank you.
Moving on to Agents League.
Allie came back to beat Joe, and Hoff beat Brandon. This thing is wide open in the BNI League. 8
of us are going to make the playoffs.
2 or 3 people who thought they were in this week are going to get eliminated.
Yeah, there's 1 week to go. There's 3 teams at 6 and 7. 1 6 and 7 is in, and there are 5 7 and 6s who could also muck this thing up. You could have, I mean, the only people who are safe are Hoff and Megan. I think the way I looked at it.
I think there's like 4 of others that we're standing on dry land, but the tide's rolling out rather than in.
Zane and Brandon are the only 2 that cannot make it. Everybody else is still in play going in this last week.
Yep.
That's some damn good commissioning, if I do say so myself.
There's 8 people in contention for 6 slots.
I mean, game on, boys.
Yeah, crazy stuff. Okay, and in the Agents League, I beat Marty, Satan beat Freddie, and Darren beat Toby. And as long as I'm tied or better than Freddie, I'm in due to division record, so I'm locked in. Nick and I are going to be locked in. We'll play for the right to win the whole thing, because there's nobody on the other side that's going to beat Nick or I.
Whatever.
In a given day, brother.
In the West, Darren is in due to superior division record, and it's coming down to Doc and Wardo this week.
Wardo has to outscore me by 167 points to get in.
I've seen crazier things happen.
Points is actually the last decider. What's your head-to-head?
1-1.
Okay. And then it'll go to division, which I think you've won.
I've won the division.
Okay. So in that case, then Doc is probably in.
I'm 99.9% in, depending upon my team just not rolling over and scoring 0 points this week.
I mean, you could start Deshaun and some of these other guys.
I started Deshaun last week and won in that league.
Yeah. That's how. Now he played Seth, who's the worst team. Well, I had the Browns defense, which really helped a lot.
Yes, that saved your ass, is what I'm hearing.
Yes,
and he got really lucky, because if Kamara had scored a touchdown Monday night, he would have lost to Seth.
But he didn't. That's all that matters.
But he's so right. He's right all the time.
Did I win? Yeah, I won.
All right, that's going to do it for our show for this week. Everybody come back in a little bit, and we will do the bonus segment with a Week 14 preview. Peace out.